Welcome to the Bougie Boardroom, where luxury meets leadership. We're mentoring for women ready for wealth embodiment, strategy, and soul with sparkle. And today's episode is Wealth Embodiment. What is it really? I'm your host, Brianna Anderson. I have been in corporate for 10 years, helping people really discover their natural strengths. I am an author and speaker of the Book of Epiphanies, helping people have breakthroughs through new definitions. And I am also a CEO of Universal Love Academy, helping people understand who they are using human design and gene keys for radical authenticity. I would love to introduce my co host, Laurel Huston, who is my amazing business partner. And Laurel, will you please introduce yourself and tell us why you are so amazing?
Absolutely. And Brianna, I am so excited for this. This has actually been in the works for quite a while. So, my name is Laurel Huston. I am the CEO of Reflections Inside and Out. I am also a speaker, mentor, presenter, and workshop facilitator. And I have been an entrepreneur since I was 17 years old. So, I am passionate about helping women have financial freedom through their passion, through their pleasure, so that we can actually have the lifestyle that we want because we are here to make a life, not a living. And so that is what this is going to be about for the next however long we choose to do this.
I love it so much. Thank you for sharing that. So, I think we could agree that we both have a very strong passion for wealth embodiment. So, today we're going to discuss what is it really? What does it mean? And let's break into the ideas of really how to expand, like you say, into our superabundance. So, Laurel, I'm going to let you take it over.
Perfect. So, first, I want to actually just go into definitions for a moment because although we hear the word wealth, we hear the word abundance, we hear prosperity, we hear these words, but I want to make sure that our listeners understand our context for them
Mhm.
because depending on which coach or book or guru you have listened to, you may not have the same thought process that we do. So, first, I want to talk about the abundance because a lot of people, especially in the spiritual community, like to talk about abundance mindset, which is great. However, abundance just means a lot of whatever. And so, abundance is a good thing if you're in a good place. But if you are trying to increase your abundance and you're in kind of a crappy place, you're just going to get more of what you're already in. So, abundance isn't necessarily always the focus. Abundance means more of. Prosperity means progression. It's more than what you had. And more importantly, it's better than what you had before. So,
Mhm.
abundance is a lot of, prosperity is better, it's progression.
Mhm.
But wealth is more all encompassing. The original root word of wealth is well being. So it is a mind, a body, a soul, and money.
Mhm.
Swallowed wrong. Okay. So with wealth, wealth is not just I have a lot of stuff. It's I have a lot of things that actually help me feel good and
Mhm.
be good.
Mhm.
To have a wealthy lifestyle is not just planes and cars and trains. It can be those things. We want them to be those things, but it's also looking at your life and being able to exhale.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I don't know about you, but when you're not in a mindset and a lifestyle of wealth, even when you have access to money, do you find yourself holding your breath,
Mhm. It's
waiting
an
for the next shoe to drop? That's not wealth. Those would be more of the prosperity and the abundance, which again are not bad things. I just want you guys to understand where we are coming from because the wealth is the part that is all encompassing. It's the part that's all about lifestyle. And I think that's what you wanted to kind of jump into, Brianna. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Oh, absolutely. Such good ways to look at things. Thanks for that. So from my perspective on where I've come from corporate, I learned what wealth was not. So wealth was the hustle and a badge of honor for how much you've struggled, how much you've had 16-hour days, and how much you could basically climb on top of one another. It's the hierarchy paradigm where you are more deserving of wealth because clearly you did more than so and so. And that's the definition that I invite all listeners to throw out the door. Because as long as you operate from a climbing of the ladder to wealth, you never actually have it because you realize that entire ladder could be on the wrong building to begin with. So you can get to the top and never be satiated or fulfilled because when you're chasing something, it's the illusion that you're never quite there yet. And so I think what both of us have learned, I won't speak for Laurel, but I have watched you really just expand so many people's lives with money specifically. And that was one of the key parts I wanted to talk to you guys about today is the idea that sometimes I know a lot of people in my life who use the word wealth to cover up the word money. And if we think about why we're
So
doing
true.
it's because they're like, well, it's safe to be known as someone who wants wealth because look at everybody it impacts. But to directly claim I want wealth and I want more truthfully money, you're maybe afraid of the selfishness or the greediness or the perceived labels that the stay broke model keeps you in. And so it's a way of thinking, right? We have to cast out the stay broke model because as long as you are not allowed to be in a relationship with money, but you're allowed to be in a relationship with wealth, it's like you could be wealthy in love, wealthy in health, wealthy in friendships. But if you're not wealthy in money because you are avoiding the very like collaboration of it or functioning with it, then your life is never actually wealthy because you have all of this amazing connection on the outside, or you perhaps dress a certain way, but if you can't pay your electric bill, like that's not okay. And so I'm really thankful, Laurel, that you brought up sometimes these ideas that wealth embodiment from different communities, it looks this way. And, corporate taught me actually it looks this way. And so we have to find the homeostasis of like, what does it mean really? And how do we know that we've actually accomplished that? So, Laura, I'm going to turn it back over to you, and maybe you can share what you've seen and what it's not, and then actually go into maybe more of like, how do we get there then?
So, first, I'm just going to be totally honest, and you'll laugh at me when I say this. I have fought and fought and fought for years about teaching about money because I've been in the personal development industry, not joking, since I was 14 years old. So, I went to my first leadership conference when I was 14 years old. I got introduced to goal setting and all of the things, and it was like, this is what it means to be successful.
Hmm.
And so, a lot of times when I talk about the personal development industry, it is not just something that I picked up during 2020 when everyone was stuck at home. I have been in this for several decades now, like
Hmm.
30
Hmm.
years that I've been studying personal development. And I fought, I did. I fought teaching people about money, and here's why. Because most of the people who are in the personal development world and teach about money are lying about their personal lives and money. And
Hmm.
so, first thing that I want to say, what wealth is not, it doesn't have to be expensive. One of the most powerful things I learned is that not everything that's expensive is luxury, and not everything that's luxury is actually expensive.
Hmm.
But when you have people who have said, oh, if it costs a lot, then it's obviously more luxurious or worth more, they can get themselves into a situation where they look rich, but they live in lies, massive amounts of debt, not knowing where their next house payment is going to come to. But they have the bag, or they have the vacation, or they have the car, they have the thing. And I think this goes back to what you were talking about, how sometimes we say we want wealth because our mindset of what a rich person looks like, feels like, their ethics, their all the things. We're like, well, I don't want to be like them.
Hmm.
I don't want
Hmm.
to be like them. I don't want to be like that person.
Hmm.
And so we will give money morality
Hmm.
when money doesn't have a morality. The person using the money is either a moral person or an immoral person. But money itself doesn't have, it's not good, bad, right, wrong, evil, righteous. It's not.
Hmm.
But I do notice that people who actually embody wealth and have wealth embodiment, which is what we're going to get into, they can have the appearance of wealth or not. They don't really care.
Hmm.
They can have the brand new, nice, shiny, whatever, or they can have the rundown, been passed down.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking of my mother who is extremely wealthy and will drive a car until it costs more to fix it than the car's actually worth, kind of thing.
Yes.
Where I have other people in my life who cannot afford their house or their car are going to extreme measures to keep them, not because they're in a hard financial situation from job loss or something like that, but out of just sheer stupidity
Mhm.
because they're trying to look it instead of embody it. So, here to me, what is wealth embodiment? What is it really? It is a sensation. And when that sensation aligns with your actions, you have it.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
And I teach a lot of somatics. And one of the things that I like to point out to people is if it feels more comfortable in your body
Mhm.
to be seen as someone who is poor and described as someone who's poor or down on their luck, and your body is relaxed with that,
Mhm.
that is poverty embodiment.
Mhm.
Wealth embodiment is what does your body feel like? Does it
Mhm.
stay relaxed? Does it stay calm? Does it stay having that feeling of safety? When you actually think about, I have enough money to pay all of my bills and still have some left over.
Mhm.
And so, Brianna, when I say that, what does wealth embodiment feel like in your system? Because you and I have both been this. I'm just going to be really transparent because we we both have been in a place where we are like, I'm so fine being poor.
Yeah, you have to know what you don't want first, right? Yeah.
But what does it feel like in your body? Like when you're in situations where you remember where you are coupon clipping. I mean, I grew up in a home where we had coupons from the newspaper. We did not buy certain things unless they were on sale. And that was what I grew up in. And so that was what I was comfortable in for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
Do you
Yeah.
have memories like that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So I grew up in a house and there was more than seven of us kids, and I was the oldest. And so I learned that love was going without so that my siblings could have the last meal or the last whatever. There was many Christmases where my parents would actually ask the church for assistance because they would actually bring over like all kinds of Christmas gifts. So you woke up in the morning and you had it, but having no idea that it came from the church and it came from someone else's money and they didn't have it to give either. And so I actually learned self-sacrifice and, it's okay to go without and to even still give, even though you have nothing to give, because that was in the name of love. So I had some sticky beliefs, really around wealth, but more so around how love was going without. And I meshed those ideas together like mashed potatoes, love and wealth. And so in order to have love, I learned to go without with wealth. And so it was like this constant battle. If I choose wealth, then I'm not choosing love. And if I choose love, so it felt like constant, it's this or it's that. But at what point does my life not feel like a split? Because my human heart wanted love. And so it was like, oh, I'm just not going to want money then. That's why I told you earlier, you have to look at it head on. And what does it mean about you to really love the money the way that you say you do, or the way that you would like to? So totally.
So, as you were talking, the thought that came to me was if we allowed ourselves to love ourselves the way that we crave money, if people are being honest and they're
Mhm.
like, I actually really love money. I love money because it pays my bills. I love money because I have a hot shower because I had money. I love money because I was just able to take a vacation. And we
Mhm.
give money credit for all of these things that actually we allowed ourselves to have that because we loved ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, when I teach human design and gene keys, I have to remind people that a lot of what they think is missing, they already have. And so I think, and you could agree with this, that's why we trade and we think we want to keep up with the appearance of wealth, even if a lot of people don't actually have it, right? Because
Mhm.
it's easier to keep up with appearance than to actually look at ourselves really honestly and say, this is where I'm at, dude. Like, this is where I came from. This is where I'm going. And in between that, there's acceptance. So thanks for bringing that up.
Okay, so the other thing that I thought was you and I both have backgrounds in large business corporations, but we also have backgrounds in more of the spiritual world.
Mhm.
And I feel like people have decided they have to have one or the other. If I'm in the spiritual community, then I have to hate money and I'm going to be poor and I'm not going to get paid for my services, even though they have paid thousands of dollars to have their Reiki certification or their I teach somatic breath work. And so like people pay to learn that skill set. And then when they become really good at it, they're like, but I'm healing people, so I don't want to get paid.
Mm,
And then there's the
mhm,
other side of it where it's like if you're in the corporate world, you have to have all of these things. You have to have the suit, the car, the house, the all the things and I'm like, but where's the place in the middle? Where's
mm,
the place where we can be healers and get paid for our education, our knowledge, and our expertise?
mhm,
And where is the place where in the corporate world we slow down enough to realize that the real luxury is time freedom
mhm, mhm,
and relationships? And this was something when I truly started to feel and understand in my system what wealth embodiment was. It was after I had my third baby. So I have three kids, and I had time freedom.
mhm,
And
mhm,
so I was able to still make money while nursing my baby. I was able to go pick my kids up from the elementary and have someone at my house who was chopping vegetables and prepping meals for my family so that I could continue to be a mentor and a speaker and travel.
mhm,
And that was when and I said this before, that's when I finally could exhale and
mhm,
stop holding my breath. So for me personally, wealth embodiment is being able to exhale without it being a sigh, like just being able to be like, life feels good instead of the sigh of, oh, now
mhm,
what?
mhm,
It's the lightness in the exhale. It's the exhale without the heavy. That's what the actual feeling, the sensation of wealth embodiment is to me.
mm. I love that. Yes. So wealth embodiment, it's fun that you say that because I think a lot of people, unless they've asked that question for themselves, then you're right, they're going to gurus and experts and books and have we noticed the more we stay in our head, we still can't find the feeling of what it is
Hmm.
that we're after. But as you say that, I'm like wealth embodiment, if someone was to ask, like, what does that feel like in your system? Like you have, it's it's honestly simple as trust. It feels like trust because I know that nature does not withhold sunlight. I know that if I go into a forest, the trees aren't all going to collapse on me. To me, wealth embodiment is the full trust and the sustainability. I think it's that keyword of sustainability that it's not going to mean the shoe is going to drop, and it doesn't mean that you're in the air and then suddenly you're like falling down. It's the stability of having the ability to progress, like you said, in prosperous thinking, knowing that when we take our next step, it's not because there's nothing beneath us, it's literally the staircase, and more is always available. But I think a lot of people lose footing to what is here right now. And the middle ground is the spirit and the form, it's both. And my favorite quote is the definition of success is faith in action. So faith requires action, spirit requires movement. Spirituality is really the acceptance of all things. It is your natural nature. And I think you could agree with it that when we're not in wealthy embodiment, I think we're fighting our natural state.
Absolutely. And um, so that merger that you were talking about, this is where I feel like if you're forcing yourself to choose, I can either be spiritual and poor or I can be corporate and burned out.
Hmm.
I can have it's the or, not the and.
Hmm. Yes.
And so I feel a lot of people, and we're going to do another episode on manifestation, so I don't want to get too into that. But when people say things like act as if,
Hmm.
you're going to personify this certain thing. Okay, that doesn't mean if you don't have access to $10,000 that you make a $10,000 purchase. That's not acting as if. And I feel like that's where this concept of bringing the two sides together actually needs to be understood. That it's like, yes, you can have these high aspirations, and
Hmm.
someone who has wealth embodiment knows where their money is. It's organized. They have a system that they know where it's coming from, where it's going. They are holding space for more.
Hmm.
It's the and.
Absolutely.
Um, wealth embodiment to me is also being able to know that I can always afford to be generous.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what does generosity feel like for us in our system? Because for a long time, generosity felt heavy. It was obligatory
Mm-hmm.
because I was generous out of fear of repercussions.
Right.
Instead of when I recognize, I'm like, actually, I'm a really generous person. I'm generous with my time. I'm generous with my information. I'm generous with my love. There are all these places that I'm incredibly generous. And those are the places I should have been stingy, mind you.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm like, no, I have no problem being generous with my money. It's my time that I'm no longer generous with. That to me was when wealth embodiment really started to shift because I recognized what is a resource that I value more
Mm-hmm.
because I can always make more money.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to have a wealthy lifestyle by guarding my time and being generous with my money, generous with my knowledge. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to guard the deep parts of my heart,
Mm-hmm.
where
Mm-hmm.
those used to be the things that I was like, anyone and everyone.
Mm-hmm. Boundaries.
And so I think that was the switch because part of wealth embodiment was learning that I can choose me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when I choose me, this is when I'm able to choose everyone else too.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And that is prosperity. It's the progression.
Mm-hmm.
And abundance is I can have all these things and it's at a level that I actually want.
Mm-hmm. I think what's really important there, like you just said, it's the choosing you part. And let's be honest, money is a symbol of value. And so I think we're both indirectly telling our audience that when you value yourself, the most obvious duh is to be in the having vibration. You have the time, you have the luxury, you have, but when you're so focused on what you don't have, you're using comparison against yourself, right? Like wealth embodiment, even from two people like ourselves, is completely the same because there's truth and then there's the intersection of how many people you're responsible for being a mother and a caretaker and a wife, right? Versus my direct experience of being in a lovely relationship and having unlimited time really to use it wisely, but still the same law is true. If I'm to not value my time, then why could I expect the world to value it as well, right? And so I think it's that mirror effect that you said so beautifully.
Mm. There was, um, do I need to remember his name? Nope, you guys are just getting the raw. I don't remember the name. Anyways, but I remember learning when I was younger that wealth is understanding that if you only have $100 and you're asked to give away one, can you? Because if you are not willing to give away $1 when you only have 100, it doesn't all of the sudden become easy to give away 1,000 when you have access to 100,000.
Hmm.
And I remember hearing that and going, yeah, so I'm going to practice. This is the concept of having. Okay,
Hmm.
if I only have access to $100, am I still understanding wealth to the point that I can give away the one? Because that is what will allow when I have the 100,000, the 500, the million, the 2 million to give away the thousands
Hmm.
and still feel wealthy because it's not about the dollar signs, just the dollar signs. It is very much a mindset and an embodiment. So, Brianna, what do you do to embody wealth
I
on a
really
regular basis?
I love that question because I think that you and I are experts. Like, I'm just going to claim it and own it right here, right now. Experts at the embodiment piece because
Hmm.
there has been too many experiences we've had that say the opposite. So, for me personally, I think I really had to zoom out and be like I said, number one, honesty of where I'm actually at versus the judgment I think that I have towards the debt or the judgment I have towards the credit card or the voice that says I shouldn't be where I'm at. So when I was able to neutralize that and just go, awesome, cool. So if I'm just willing to be honest with my situation, then the next piece is just the integrity. Like what do I actually call in because I choose it at a soul level, not because the world taught me it needs to look this way, right? Or I need to have that bag when actually I don't even like the way they brand. It might be popular, like you said, luxury, but it doesn't actually feed my soul. So I think there's really just two things that really turn me on in a really wealthy, delicious way. I treat myself as the version that I would put into the future, and I bring her here. So I think a lot of people go into their future and they go after it. And my opinion, my belief is that delay is the biggest killer of wealth. Delay is the biggest killer of wealth. And I believe that because as long as your wealthy embodiment is in the future, then you treat yourself differently with who you are now.
Hmm.
And so I like to bring what most spiritual people call the future self, and I actually don't go into the future. I bring my future present. And I'm like, cool. So how would you choose to eat today? How would you choose to dress today? Because to be honest, I'm getting ready even if there's no event happening. Because for me, in my system, I want to show up and be now the embodiment of a wealthy and worthy woman, no matter what. And so the first practice, to answer more clearly, is to take away the circumstance. So I don't need to get ready and feel bougie, right? Bougie boardroom. I don't need to feel bougie only when the world says it's my birthday, or I only need to have this and you can only eat cake when you've earned it, right? Like you have to let go of those lies. But the second way that I feel the most expansive and wealthy self is I put myself in situations purposely where my nervous system can actually get familiar with the feeling. So the fastest path of growth used to be podcasts for me. And I absolutely think you need to watch this every day, you guys, literally. But now I put myself in places where I know that millions of dollars are circulating. Do I love Las Vegas? Maybe not necessarily, but I love the feeling in the casinos where I know at a nervous system level that there are millions and billions of dollars being trafficked through that environment. So that might not be your cup of tea, but if I can be aware of how I feel when riches are present, I'm like, oh, baby girl, she has it. That's an indicator that you can have it too. So I like to use the you too statement for I can have it also, but not because I actually judge myself and think they're better than, right? So the opposite of hierarchy would be awesome. I see this thing at the top. That means because I can see it and perceive it, it's available to me. So do I love myself enough to open to the possibility that it can show up? And so I think that's how I've gotten my temperature stat internally to increase, right? Even our friendship, when I first met Laurel Huston, I couldn't hold her frequency. The joke between the friendship is, whoo, she was intense, but she knew her value. She knew her worth, and her no was no, and her yes was yes. And I respected that because it just indicated what I've always believed, that if I'm going to have a wealthy lifestyle, my no has to be clean and my yes has to be clean because then my money and my energy is clean. So those are the things that help me. And I'm really excited to hear what is helping you. Like, how do you get your wealth embodiment temperature up, and what practices do you use?
So I love that you said wealth embodiment temperature because it really is a sensation. And so I'm going to go back to that story of when we first started to spend time with each other. So Brianna and I were helping a mutual friend plan a retreat on the other side of the world. We were headed to Bali. And I said, hey guys, I got to step out for a minute. I need to get on. I have a potential client. We're going to take a call. And it'll be about 10, 15 minutes. I was on the call, what, like 12 minutes maybe? I mean, it was
Mhm,
short. And I came back in and Brianna said, how'd it go? And I said, great, we closed. And she's like, oh, well, do you mind if I ask how much? And I said, yep, it was a $10,000 deal.
mhm,
So in my world, $10,000 in 15 minutes was a natural frequency that I hold.
mhm,
I still remember Brianna's face because it was both astonishment and admiration at the same time. It wasn't jealousy, it wasn't competition, it was inspiration.
mhm. Correct.
And later we have had multiple conversations about this, so that's why I bring it up
Mhm,
because I was like, "Oh, that's so fascinating because I also remember a time when I was at a live event and someone was selling something from stage, and I was just doing quick math as I'm standing in line with 150 other people, and we're all there with our $1,500. And I
mhm,
was like, $1,500 times he's capping this at 100, like In 30 seconds, that man just made thousands of dollars. And I was so inspired and so in awe. And I remember saying to myself, I'm going to do that one day. I am going to make the same amount of money that my parents make in a year. I'm going to make that in one day. I'm going to make that in one, like in one event, in one call. And at the time, and this is why I say, what does it feel like in your body? My whole body was like everything spasmed. Everything was like, that's not possible. All the programming, all the things came in. And so
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I do on a regular ongoing basis, when I hear my heart say, I want that, let's do that, that's an alignment for us. I say to myself, yeah, I can have that. And then I actually pay attention to whether or not my nervous system agrees. Does my body stay calm? Does it stay open at the thought of receiving that really cool, amazing, whatever the next thing is?
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm not aware of it and all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go after that. And my body is like, we don't feel safe. We don't feel comfortable. We are not okay with that. It doesn't matter how much action I put into it. It doesn't all of a sudden miraculously come. But when I feel and I go, oh, there was a little bit of resistance there for my body. What part about having a $10,000 day feels uncomfortable to us? Is it because we don't feel worthy of it? Is it because we have programming that says that means we're dishonest? Like, what is it in our nervous system that is making us feel uncomfortable with more?
Mm-hmm.
And so this is where, yes, mind work is important. Yes, stay really involved in how your body is feeling and have the systems. It's not an or.
Mm-hmm.
You need the structures in place, you need the mindset in place, and you need to have the connection with your body to say, okay, my body is feeling uncomfortable with this. Is it because it's wrong or is it because it's unknown to me?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, when you walk into a restaurant and you're like, what is that smell? It's not bad. I've just never smelled it before.
Mm-hmm.
This is sometimes how people are with money and other experiences. It's not bad, it's just they're not used to it. And so they're not quite sure what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the things that Brianna and I talked about with this podcast that we want to do is that we're going to give really good content, really good information here. And then we're also going to do kind of an after hours thing. And so, um, in just a minute, we're going to close up here, but we are also going to be doing a meditation. And in that meditation, for those that are subscribed and part of our paid subscription, that meditation will be available to you. And it is a wealth embodiment visualization and meditation. So that is what we're going to take you through in that meditation and in that visualization.
Mm-hmm. So the paid content, you guys, is going to be something you will want to absolutely come in for because what would it be if we just talked with you and didn't give you the actual experience, right? And so I'm going to invite you guys into that paid content so that you can get the aftermath, the actual embodiment of today's episode. We do plan on hosting a podcast with you guys every single week. So make sure to subscribe, share this with women in your circles, because it is a fact that collective consciousness can be risen faster when we are working together. So please make sure that you share this. We also invite you to our Facebook page as well. So you'll just want to check the show notes. We have live events that we host that actually take information into integration to help you embody fully the lifestyle where luxury and leadership collide. So, with that being said, I hope you guys have a fabulous week. Thank you so much for joining the Bougie Boardroom. We think you're bougie now. We think you're worthy now. We think you're rich now. So, come hang out with us because we are always going to be your biggest cheerleaders for your next growth, your next expansion. And remember, you're here because you want strategy and soul with sparkle. So, we'll see you on the inside. Thanks, guys.